Hey guys, it's time for reaction video part 3. I'm going to be responding this time to videos that are hyper-centered around the ultra-Orthodox Jewish community. It wasn't really planned this way, but as I looked through different clips to react to, these are the 4 that stood out to me. And they stood out just because they really expose the fact that the Judaism that's being presented in extreme Orthodox Judaism is actually not at all representative of the Torah itself. And instead of these very religious, devotional people presenting a beautiful, positive representation of God and His Torah, it instead comes across as extremely primitive, in bad taste, and ultimately not something that at all seems godly whatsoever. So as I respond to these clips, you will see what I'm talking about. So here it goes.
If a person wants to convert to become a Jew, they still have an opportunity. What are the steps that a person has to go through if they want to? Number 1, they have to accept the written Torah and the oral Torah. There's no such thing as saying that you're a Jew and not accepting the oral Torah. If somebody wants to convert, they have to accept the oral tradition, which means the Talmud, which means you got to come and really learn. So anybody out there who's making accusations, they're generally unfounded and from unlearned individuals who never spent years learning Gemara and Talmud.
Years! You got to learn so much Torah. Now what is this Torah that he's talking about? The oral Torah. The oral Torah is not the Torah. Period. End of story. I want you all to understand this. When you read the Torah itself, the Torah consists of the 5 books of Moses. Again and again it says, follow the words that are written in this Torah. So for anyone who tries to pull the wool over your eyes and pretend that you're just not knowledgeable enough, you see you didn't spend enough years in yeshiva learning Gemara and Talmud, which by the way consists of thousands of books by thousands of rabbis over thousands of years. That is the Torah that you must accept if you want to convert to become an Israelite, if you want to convert to become Torah observant. All you have to do to convert to become Torah observant is follow the laws and the commandments that are in the written Torah, the 5 books of Moses. Anyone can read it. It's right there. It's the first 5 books of the Bible. You don't have to go very far. It's been hiding in plain sight for thousands of years. Open up the written Torah, the written word of God, the words that God communicated to Moses, who was the greatest prophet that ever lived. And there you will find a perfect delineation and clarification of all of the commandments, all of the decrees, and everything that's written. And for all of these frauds who want to tell you that you need to go study for years and years on end in a yeshiva under a rabbi and read mounds and piles of Talmud if you want to get to the bottom of the true Judaism. These are the people who are trying to shame you into submission, trying to tell you you're just too ignorant. You'll just never know unless you come and go through all of the rigorous study that we're going to put you through until you completely bend the knee to our religion. The truth of the matter is that Rabbinic Judaism is a man-made religion. It bears almost no resemblance to the Torah, other than the fact that it's loosely based off of the original things in the Torah. They go ahead and add and subtract thousands upon thousands of commandments. They make up ideas and laws that are nowhere to be found in the Torah. And of course, if you want to convert to Orthodox Judaism, you have to go through all of the processes that they tell you to go through. You have to go through the acceptance of the rabbinic authority if you want to be part of their religion. But their religion is not God's religion. Their religion is not the religion of the Torah. The oral Torah and the written Torah are 2 different Torahs. They're not the same thing. The written Torah is the word of God communicated to Moses in the 5 books of Moses, that you shall not add or subtract to the words written in this Torah. The oral Torah is a compilation of rulings of rabbis over thousands of years, man-made laws and decrees that are nowhere to be found in the Torah, an entire system of law and mythology and ideology and mysticism and spirituality that is not from the Torah, and in fact is completely against the Torah in many, many occasions. So do not listen to this guy and people like him who tell you that you're just too ignorant to know the truth. You're not. You can stand up being very well informed by knowing the 5 books of Moses and that alone. If you read the 5 books of Moses without commentary, you will be more informed than every Jew, Christian, Muslim on earth, because no one actually reads the 5 books of Moses. They either read other books of the Bible, or they read other books that are not even in the Bible, and they completely miss the boat, which is the 5 books of Moses. That is the Torah. If you want to convert, follow the laws in the Torah. That's it. There's no conversion process. You don't got to go through humiliation rituals and submit your life to the rabbi in order to become a Jew. That's not at all what the Torah is about. Here's for number 2.
This is a whole process how this works, but sometimes Jewish souls, which means souls that belong to Jews in previous lives, will enter into non-Jewish bodies for periods of time. So when they return back to Judaism, they'll actually bring healthy genes that are not affected by the trauma to create a sort of balance within Klal Yisrael. You have to explore this deeper. Another person has to really make this decision on their own. They have to really know whether Judaism is actually who they are. We're the Jewish.
Okay, this is really bizarre and strange on many levels. First of all, a Jew in a non-Jewish body. This sounds a lot like queer theory and all of the strangest that we hear from those lunatics. So let's first of all talk about the fact that this is insane. A Jew in a non-Jewish body. What the hell does that mean? There's literally no way for this guy to prove what he's talking about. And by the way, this is what Jews believe. They have special souls, and that's not what the Torah says. The Torah doesn't say that Jews have special souls or that they're inherently better than other people. God made a covenant with the ancestors of Israel, and God actually told the Israelites, you are wicked and evil, and I'll still choose you because I promised to your ancestors, and the only chance that you have at success is if you follow the decrees and the commandments. And the covenant of Israel is open to converts and people that are not originally from the bloodline of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So this entire idea of the Jewish soul and the non-Jewish body, and then the very bizarre thing that he talks about to give us other genes to get rid of the trauma, he's just admitting outright that the Jews are screwed up and that their genes are full of trauma and that they have inbred diseases and they have all sorts of tragic autoimmune diseases and all of these terrible illnesses, God forbid, that afflict them. And so then they're like, oh, we need non-Jewish genes to get us better, but they're really Jews with the Jewish soul. All of this stuff is so strange. The mysticism is so disastrous. All of this fake spirituality that's been completely fabricated again by man, nowhere to be found in the Torah. In the Torah it says that God creates all mankind in the image of God. That's we're all one human species. And any attempt to create this idea of like the Jewish soul in the non-Jewish body, that literally just goes into like a male in a female's body or a female in a male's body, which is the kind of nonsense we've been having to hear in the political sphere for the past few years, which of course is anti-Torah as well. The Torah makes it very clear there are human beings. Human beings are created in the image of God. There is the lineage of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and there is the law and the commandments that we can follow if we want to be moral and righteous in the eyes of God. And all people are welcome to learn from that. But all this idea of the superior Jewish soul and all this stuff is really sick. And on the topic of inbred Jews who suffer from many illnesses, I've seen this video, and it's quite unfortunate.
יש להיות חרדי ללמוד תורה, לקבל רצון הקדוש ברוך הוא, להכיר באמת שהקדוש ברוך הוא ברא את העולם, הוא ציווה ותרי"ג מצוות, לקיים את רצונו, ללמוד תורה, איזה תענוג, איזה תענוג. אתה שווה לך, אתה תהיה בחלק מאיתנו, תסתפח לנחלת השם. אתה לא יודע כמה, תתחרט על זה, שתבוא לעולמה בו, תתחרט.
Whoa, that's a lot. So, of course, this video was taken to be some sort of anti-Semitic thing. Look how terrible the Jews are. And unfortunately, it's very hard to defend the Jews when they literally walk right into the caricature from the Nazi magazine. And they actually just present themselves as being so grotesque and so out of touch with reality. Again, this guy's just ranting about how it's so great to be an ultra-Orthodox Jew, and you can see how he's dressed, and he believes that he's the greatest person on earth because he studies Talmud all day. I mean, he's in complete denial, complete delusion. This is a product of the rabbis and their teachings that have put this guy through terrible suffering in his life. And I'm very sorry for him. And this guy's been publicly shamed because this video is all over the world. But he's expressing what he really believes to be the truth. He thinks he's part of God's chosen ones because he reads Talmud all day. And he's telling whoever's taking the video, you better become ultra-Orthodox like us. Otherwise, you'll regret it after you die in the world to come. And of course, there you go, right? In the unknown afterlife, you'll regret having not lived a terrible life in this world. God's not asking us to live terrible lives. The oppressive life that they live, completely devoid of physicality and connection to their humanity for the sake of some afterlife. It's like the Muslims who say if you blow yourself up, you get 50 virgins in heaven. No, no, no. This is all garbage, okay? You live here right now. This is life. You're alive. Get with the program, okay? These people are in complete denial, and it shows. Their cultures are falling apart. They live in poverty and mental poverty, physical poverty. It's very sad to see, and this guy is clearly unwell, but he's considered to be a hero in his world because he's encouraged to act this way and behave this way and live in denial. So again, what's going on with these yeshivas and these ultra-Orthodox groups is really just not the Torah. The Torah never tells you to dress like that. The Torah never tells you to talk like that. It never tells you to act this way and to live this way. And it's being presented as the ultimate way to achieve connection to God, is to be this kind of person that's just so frightening that this is even a kind of human being, because they're clearly so disconnected from their humanity. It's really sorry to see. And finally, for the big dog of the Orthodox rabbis, let's see what he has to say.
Wasting seed a big sin for a non-Jew. Wasting seed is forbidden for everyone. It is a bigger sin for a Jew than a non-Jew, but it is certainly considered disgusting in the eyes of God, even if a non-Jew does it.
Wow, wasting seed is disgusting. It's the worst thing in the world. It's the worst sin in the Torah. The rabbis say that it's actually deserving of death, and it's the worst sin in the Torah, except it's not even a sin in the Torah. The Torah never says you're not allowed to spill seed. And we can just talk about, what does spilling seed mean? Does it mean masturbation? The Torah never prohibits masturbation. The Torah never prohibits having sex with a woman and not procreating. In fact, if your wife is post-menopause, how are you supposed to have sex with her without spilling seed? What a joke. These people are lying. There is no sin to spill seed. Thank God there's an abundance of seed. Constant renewal of supply. Thank God. All of this stuff is nonsense. It's just guilt and shame tactics to make people sexually afraid and to say that don't get anywhere near your sexual region because, God forbid, the sin spills and the seed goes and now you're deserving of death and it's the worst sin for Jews and non-Jews. And this guy's walking around making up sins. Nowhere in the Torah is spilling your seed forbidden. Now, obviously, you should be fruitful and multiply. You should have sex with a woman and actually complete the act and be fruitful and multiply and procreate. That's obvious. But the idea that if you were to spill your seed, meaning you didn't use it directly for procreation inside of a woman, so now suddenly you committed the worst sin in the Torah, it's just false. So it's just another example of these rabbis creating laws that are lies, that are not in the Torah, creating standards for conversion, for marriage, for sex, for everything, just to keep people disconnected from their humanity, to rob people of their freedom. Remember, God took the Israelites out of Egypt to give them freedom. They were slaves under a human tyrant named Pharaoh, and then God took them out to be slaves only to God, to be servants only to God, and to follow only His commandments. And that's freedom. Freedom is subservience to God alone. What we have here in Orthodox Judaism, which is, again, the only reason why I'm even talking about it, is because they present themselves as the ultimate people who follow the Torah in its perfection, when in reality, they're misrepresenting the Torah on so many levels again and again, and they're making the Torah more and more inaccessible to people, and Judaism starts to look like a joke. People don't even want to get close to it, and they're like, what is this? What are these people? That's not what God had in mind. God had in mind a beautiful religion that is clear-cut. The laws and commandments are available to all. The practices can be introduced into your life with ease. It'll not overthrow your life. You won't have to go and turn your life upside down. There are just modifications that you can make in your life that will start to instantly improve your connection to God. And if you're born a Jew, you better start on that right away. And if you're not born a Jew, start to learn from it and see what you can take for your life and see how you'll benefit, because there's lots of benefits to reading the Torah and being aware of that history and understanding the prophecy and the law that exists in there. So I bless all of you to come to the truth and the light of God through His word alone. Do not let other people get in the way of your connection with God. You have a direct access. God is close to those who call out to Him in truth. And that is what it takes to be part of the covenant of Israel, to study the laws that God gave to the people of Israel, which thankfully is accessible to the entire world.